Hi guys, it's Gav here in the hill. So I just wanted to take you through a basic tarp setup, because it's quite often something you need to use when you're doing this sort of work. In fact, there's a couple of buzzards over there, look. Oh, look at that. I just love watching them, fantastic. So yeah, there's three things in shelter that are important, and the three things are location, location, location. So what I mean by that is basically make sure you're in a good spot for the night. If you're putting it up for the night, if you're just putting it up to meditate on or to sit in a rainstorm, then it's a different thing altogether. You'll see where the water's running. That's one of the things that you have to watch out for. Water running, tides coming in, rockfall, avalanche, all that type of stuff, and wind. Like, I'm going to put one up in quite an exposed place today. You can see where I am. Look at that view, fantastic, isn't it? There's the Forth Bridge over there. So yeah, so location. Quite often at the top of a hill in Scotland, the trees are all being cut down years ago, so there isn't normally very many trees, or you're above the tree line. So you have to make do with what you brought. Quite often people have a trekking pole, or better still, a staff. This is the one I'm going to use today, and you want to make sure you're lying in a good spot. So I'm going to use, you've got to use what's naturally here, so I'm going to use this as one side. So I'm probably going to tie off on that old post there, and I'm going to use pegs, but quite often you might not have pegs with you, so they're very easy to make out of rusty wire. I've often forgotten the whole bag of pegs before, and that's what I've used with great success. Or wood, if you've got wood. The good thing about setting a tarp up on the hill is you really appreciate trees. Shelter and trees go together in any kind of wilderness bushcrafty situation. You realise the value of them almost instantly when you try and do anything, particularly in relationship to survival. Right, I'm going to set you up over here so you can see what I'm doing. That should be fine there, I think. Right down there. This is the size of the tarp here I'm using, so it's quite light. That's, for instance, that's my waterproof trousers, obviously more than my tarp in weight, so it's a great thing to carry with you. Now not all tarps are the same. You want to get a solid waterproof one with good stakes, hooks on it, something that isn't going to leak in Scottish weather. You're doing it in Scotland. Right, so the other thing is it's got ridge loops on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this rope through the ridge loops, and that stops. I have made the tarp on top of the centre line, but the problem is the water runs down the rope in under the tarp, so you don't really want to do that if you can help it. So we'll set this up here like that, and then set this up over here. You can tie all sorts of fancy knots, but I wouldn't really recommend it until you get really good at it. And then do it. This is my pole. So I'm going to dig that into the ground a bit. And I'm just going to tie that off here. Like that. Just put a couple of half hitches in it. And then I'm going to stretch it with this here. Just take this off. I've normally got a bunch of loops in my guy ropes for ease of use. I do or not, it comes out easily. And then I'll show you the knots another time. So I'm just going to stake this out with my pegs. Here they are. If you're carrying pegs, it's good to carry aluminium ones actually. Nice and light. And then basically sneak it down. Now you want to, I might just actually stake it directly into the ground. I'm gonna put a wee line on it. It's a good idea to tie this off to your pole as well. As I said, make use of anything you've got nearby. Like that, stone's ideal. And then just stake it out, and then you can adjust all later. You can adjust the whole thing later on. Stake out your corners first. And that's the basic, that's the basic setup. So that's the basic setup there. You can see that there's a bit more of an edge on that side where I've lifted it up to the stone. But all that is really easy to adjust. And then basically you crawl in, and you can just adjust it as you need. Adjust it as you need. It's much more versatile than a tent. But the steeper you have the roof, the easier it is for the water to run off. So if you've got a crap tarp, which quite often people have because they buy those cheap ones, you've really got to keep the roof really steep so the water just runs right off, and you don't end up having to rely on the waterproofness of the tarp so much. But yeah, so that's your basic shelter setup for a tarp. You can see it didn't take that long. Just basically, the thing to remember is just get it pegged out roughly, and then adjust it later on. And you can kind of like work with your terrain a bit more. There's nothing like sleeping under a tarp. You're much more in the in the environment, and it's just much more kind of yeah, it's fantastic. The only difficulty is in Scotland is when you're up north is the midges get bad, particularly at this time of year, so you've got to kind of be aware of that. Either use a net, or I wouldn't even do that. I would just use a tent in these conditions. But you can get you know, midge nets for it, but if the midges are bad, it's no fun. So yeah, I would recommend just using a proper midge-proof tent if the midges are bad. But you can see that was just with the one pole and the fence post basically. But you could also have used the wall if you'd wanted. So there's the view out the door. It's quite nice, isn't it? I'll leave you with that. Right, put any comments below and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.